are no longer able to wreak havoc without facing proper consequences. And our message to them is very clear. The days of behaving like you are above the law are over. Since the new laws came into effect 3 months ago, police have done an absolutely outstanding job of enforcing them. And I want to say thank you to Commissioner Chambers, but also to the entire New Zealand Police, the incredible men and women who work so incredibly hard to keep us safe, and that is so greatly appreciated by your fellow Kiwis. So thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to hand over to the Commissioner to take you through a little bit more of the detail about the enforcement of the new gang laws and how they are tracking. Commissioner.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for your support alongside Police Minister Mitchell and Minister of Justice Goldsmith for being here with us today to acknowledge the magnificent work of police staff, my colleagues, the men and women across the country for the work that they do. As the Prime Minister has said, 3 months in from the implementation of the new gang legislation, it's an opportunity for us to have a look at that 3 months and see how we're going. In the 3 months, we have identified and prosecuted more than 300 breaches for the wearing of gang insignia. During the same period of time, we have also prosecuted other charges in relation to serious violence, gangs and firearms. Firearms, drugs and serious violence. During that time, we have also seized 76 patches and 67 firearms. I would like to acknowledge the work of the National Gang Unit and the Gang Disruption Unit across the country, but in particular I'd like to acknowledge the frontline staff of New Zealand Police for the tremendous work that they do day and night across our country. The feedback from my staff in relation to this new legislation is that they are empowered and pleased to be able to address criminal offending in front of them that relates to the wearing of gang insignia. And perhaps the most satisfying reflection is that feedback we are getting from the public, who are telling us that they feel a lot safer. They feel a lot freer from the intimidation that has been experienced in the past when it comes to gangs. Our job in police is law enforcement, and that will continue. And I thank the Prime Minister and the Ministers for being here to look at how we're going, to continue to encourage my staff and to look at new opportunities that may exist in future to enforce the criminal offending of gang members across our country. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Well, everybody, let's take some questions around the gang stats if we wish, and then I would like to let the Commissioner go so he can get on with his day job, and then happy to take your other questions of the day after that if we can. But let's start with the law and order questions first.
It's been reported today that since November, the actual number of people on the gang register has gone up 300. Is that correct? And if so, is that a sign the policy is failing, not succeeding?
No, it's not, but I'll let the Commissioner explain why.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes, that is correct. It has gone up, and that is in part because we continue to validate that list. And as new gangs are added to the schedule of the Gangs Act, most recently the Bloods and 2-8 Brotherhood, then naturally the membership of that list increases, but that allows us to enforce this new legislation. So yes, it has increased, but it allows us to now enforce the legislation that came into effect on the 21st of November.
So you're talking about something close to 9,800, I believe?
Correct,
the gang
correct.
Register,
yes.
76 patches seized. People might look at that number and think, that doesn't sound like a very effective response in these first few months.
Well, no, my staff are doing a magnificent job in enforcing the gang legislation, but I'll also acknowledge that largely gang members are actually making good choices. So, you know, I think that we do have to acknowledge that across the country and the members that we have spoken to, they are making choices because they don't want to lose their patch.
Sorry, what do you mean by what sort of good choices the gang members make?
Not to wear their patches or gang insignia in public because that allows us to enforce the law.
What do you do with the patches that you have?
On conviction, they would be forfeited and ultimately destroyed.
How are they destroyed? Just paint a picture.
That's not for police to decide how they are destroyed, but they are destroyed on conviction because they are forfeited.
The Police Association today, I think, has raised a concern about how long you can sustain this policy and how much extra resource is going into it. What would you say to that?
Very confident that we can sustain this, and we are. for as long as it takes, and that's forever.
Can I just say also, I think, the Commissioner touched on it then, but, the gang patches have also led to, crackdown on illegal guns. Every illegal gun taken off the streets out of the hand of gangs who've been driving so much of the violent crime is really important. So the point of these laws is to give the police all the tools that they need to. That yes, looking after, going after gang patches also means we're going after drugs and we're also going after guns. And, I just would say to you, when you think about the human cost of an incident with a violent crime incident with a gun, you think about more drugs being peddled on more New Zealand families and kids. That is something that's a really good thing. So I think this has been a huge success. And what I'd just say to you again is that, when you've got 1/4 of 1% of the population driving up to 1/4 or 1/5 of our serious violent crime, this is the right way to tackle the problem that we've got around violent crime by going to the source of gangs and let's be working on 1/5 to 1/4 of it, which is really good.
Yeah, and the one thing that I want to say is that our New Zealand Police Force has demonstrated that they are a world-class police force because of the enforcement of this new gang legislation. It wasn't just the enforcement piece, it was the early engagement piece. And that is one of the great strengths of our police service. And I think, Simon, to your point, 9,800 gang members, 76 patches, that talks to exactly that point, is that there's been a very high level of compliance. They're not wearing their patches because they know, number one, the police will enforce, and they know that this government's given them the powers and the tools now to be able to do that. And it is changing the way that gangs are policed in this country, without a doubt. And that was the objective of this government coming in. We'd had too long where gangs thought they ran the place. Public roads being taken over, schools being closed, intimidation going on. That is the stuff that we're clamping down on under the Commissioner's leadership. This has been outstanding, without a doubt.
And I think genuinely what the Commissioner played back is that people are feeling safer. I mean, I hear that a lot as well, that they actually are seeing the police out on the beat. And we know, yes, it's up 30%, but actually the stats are interesting, but actually if people are seeing it and feeling it and experiencing it for themselves, that's actually what we want to see. We used to, you and I actually went around many different dairies all across and superettes across Auckland, typically going to many ram raids. We have the violent end of retail crime much more suppressed, with ram raids down, I think, about 68% when I last looked at it. So there's some good progress as you think about our challenge around violent crime, serious young offenders, and actually tougher sentencing.
With respect, I think the police in Canterbury have just recently said they've got a concern about rising retail crime amongst youngsters just the last couple of days, Commissioner.
I think there are still ongoing concerns around retail crime. That is still a real challenge for us, but the extreme violent part of it, which was what we were seeing with ram raids, has certainly come back tremendously, but we still have a real challenge around retail crime across the whole of the country. Right. But the serious violent part of it and more aggressive end of it has certainly been suppressed, which has been good.
Where's that work at from the advisory group you set up?
I'll let Paul talk to that.
Yes, they've reported, come back with some proposals that we'll be announcing later this week.
Yeah, so more to come.
Andrew Bailey, unless anybody else has...
Well, can we just, any other questions on law and order? Okay, great. I'm going to let the Commissioner go so he can get on with the day job. Thank you, Commissioner. Good to see you, mate. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, let's pick up the other issues of the day. Let me start by talking about Andrew Bailey. As has been widely reported, I have accepted his resignation as a minister following an incident involving a staff member last week. He indicated to me that he felt his actions fell well short of the expectations he sets for himself and that are expected of ministers, and as such, he offered me his resignation as a minister, which I have subsequently accepted. As a result, Scott Simpson will take over as Minister for Commerce and Consumer Affairs, and also for ACC. With that, happy to take any questions.
Can you just walk us through your perspective he actually did? We're having a bit of trouble piecing together what he actually did. We know it was a hand on the upper arm, but was it more serious than that? Could you just let us know from your perspective what you...
Well, look, I think he's outlined the incident in his own statement, and I'm not going to add to that. What was important, though, is that he identified his interaction with a staff member as having fallen short of his own expectations, and he proactively came to me and offered his resignation, which I accept and I think is the right thing to do.
Minister, how much time was it between you finding out about the incident, which I think was Wednesday or Thursday, and then the resignation was Friday night.
Yeah, so the event happened on the Tuesday last week. I was informed on Thursday. There were obviously discussions with staff over Thursday, Friday. On Friday evening, very, very late, Andrew called me and resigned. I accepted that. I wanted him to have Saturday, Sunday to get just to inform his family and also other impacted staff, and then we've come today and obviously announced the resignation today. I just say to you all, I think that's been pretty quick to move as fast as we have within the week. It's pretty impressive.
Prime Minister, given the previous incident in Marlborough in October, once you were alerted to it, should you not even bother to wait? Just said to him, right, that's it.
I found out on Thursday evening. There were discussions that needed to take place with staff, and that's entirely appropriate. And as I said, very late on Friday he resigned. So I think we have managed the process incredibly well. I think it's been very effective and very fast. But most importantly, I'd say to you is that Andrew, by his own admission, has come forward and said, look, I didn't meet the standards that I would expect of myself, and he resigned. And as a result, I accepted that.
Did he resign, or did you tell him to resign?
No, he came forward of his own volition to say, listen, I hadn't met my own standards of behaviour that I would expect in this interaction, and as a result, I am resigning. And I said, he stepped me through it, and I said, yes, that I accept his resignation.
And if he hadn't have resigned,
sorry?
If he hadn't have resigned, would you have sacked him?
Well, it's a hypothetical because I didn't have to go there because he, most importantly, had recognised that his behaviour hadn't met his own high standards, and as a result, he was offering his resignation to me. He stepped me through the events, and I think he's made the right decision.
Could you just be a little bit more clear on what the events were? Did he grab an individual in anger? We said that you told us it was an animated discussion. We don't know what that means. So
yeah, I'm not going to add anything more to what he's already said in his statement.
You've sacked a minister, so at least...
No, I haven't. A minister has had an incident happen with an interaction with the staff. He has felt that very clearly that he has not met his own standards, and he has come and resigned himself. It is his decision, and as a result, I got him to step me through the incident, and I accepted his resignation. So I want to be really clear, this is Andrew's decision, and he has understood that he hasn't met his own standards and those of what's expected of a minister.
Why not refuse to accept his resignation? Go back to him and say, no, actually, you're set an example of him and show people what your standards are.
Well, he stepped me through the events, and I agreed with him that that was the right course of action. When he offered me his resignation, I accepted it, and that's entirely appropriate. I think it's good that he recognised that he didn't meet his own standards. I think it's good that he then reflected on that and actually came forward to me on Friday night and said, this is the situation. This is how I think about it. I don't think I've met my own high expectations and my own behaviour here, and as a result, I'd like to offer my resignation. As he went through it, I said, yep. That's about right.
Why not come out on Saturday and say this is what happened, face the media at the Blueberries Forum, knowing that you're one minister short?
Well, I'll just say to you, when I got informed very late on a Friday night, and in fairness, I wanted Andrew to have an opportunity to talk to his own family. I think that's really fair and reasonable. I also wanted him to have a chance to talk to staff that were impacted by that, and then we wanted to come, and obviously it's been announced today. So I think we've moved really quickly through that, but I think it's quite reasonable that actually he has a chance to talk to his own family about his decision, which is a very big one. He has really proactively taken a very significant step by stepping down as a minister, and that has a big consequence in its own right. And so, and so that to me is requires him to be able to talk to his family about that. I think it's not an unreasonable request.
Did you ask him to stand down from his electorate seat as well?
No, he has is committed to wanting to represent Port Waikato and make a contribution in the Parliament, which I appreciate. But as it was, as I said, by his own admission, upon going through the events, he came to that conclusion himself and offered his resignation.
Is there a way back for him into cabinet from here?
Look, you never say never, but the point is...
Quite a hesitation there.
Well, no, but I'm just going to say I'd just say to you, he's got a contribution to make in Parliament for sure, and he's got a contribution to make representing Port Waikato, and he has done an exceptionally good job, frankly, on these portfolios of Commerce and Consumer Affairs and ACC, both which have quite big policy decisions and reforms that are necessary. I'm very confident Scott Simpson will continue that work, but I do want to say thank you, Andrew, for that work as well.
Prime Minister, given this incident, do you think hindsight, you should have asked him to step down from candidate when the first incident happened back in October?
No.
Doesn't the show a pattern?
No, the important thing here is that Andrew, by his own admission, has identified that his behaviour didn't meet his own standards. That's important. That's what I want ministers to understand and feel. And he's obviously come to me and obviously offered his resignation, which I've accepted based off those events. So, I think that's what I just want to underscore. This has been his decision, and it's been one that I support.
Was the matter referred on to police?
Sorry?
Was the matter referred on?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Sorry, can I just try one more time? Because I'm still quite unclear as to what happened. I mean, people might look at the fact that he touched somebody's upper arm, or albeit in the way that he did. But I mean, what actually happened? Was he angry about something that went wrong? Did the person complain, and how was that complaint managed through your staff? I'm just wondering what the incident actually, how it played out.
Well, look, Andrew outlined that in his own statement and his own conversation and presentation with you this morning.
But we didn't get very much detail. Right?
Well, to say to you, he's outlined it, and I'm not going to go into that, because at the end of the day, he has reflected on that and made his own decision that actually it didn't meet his own expectations of his high standards, and has offered his resignation, and I've accepted that.
Did he indicate if there was any alcohol involved in the incident?
No. This was as he explained it to you this afternoon, and as he's explained it in his statement. But again, I have nothing more to add to that, because I think he's articulated it as appropriately as he can. But more importantly, I think you've sensed that in his own statement earlier today, that he has taken this as his own personal decision, and I respect that.
Would you know that
Sorry, to move off Andrew to China?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Do you think China gave enough warning ahead of the live firing of the weekend? You sort of raised concerns with them over the actions over the weekend?
Yeah, well, look, as I've said before, the actions of this flotilla is actually completely consistent with international law and with also the UN Convention of the Law of the Sea. But what we have raised, and what we did raise with officials on Sunday, was we raised the issue, but particularly with the emphasis of having short notification for live firing exercises. And again, we are conscious that we are in very busy airways. What I would say is there's very good coordination between the civil aviation authorities, between Australia and New Zealand, and the airlines. That's all being very well managed. And again, when we fly anywhere around the world, it's quite normal that militaries will advise through radio exactly that commercial airlines need to avoid that area. But our point to the officials has been, look, we appreciate that you're acting lawfully within the international law. That's important for us. We're a country that believes in upholding the rule of law. But equally, we would appreciate having more advance notice on live firing rounds in particular.
So you said you raised it with officials. Which officials did you raise it with? Is these from the Chinese government or within the Chinese?
Officials within the Chinese embassy here in New Zealand, and I understand we'll also be doing the same in Beijing as well.
Have you directly raised the issue yourself?
No, it's done at an official level. And just remember also, as I said on the weekend, that this incident happened in Australian airspace. So certainly the Australian Foreign Minister Wong has made representations to her counterpart Wang Yi when they met together in South Africa over the weekend as well.
Yeah, so is the Peters is going to raise bats, when he's in Beijing? Do you think that he might get pushed back on it?
Well, I mean, again, our issue is there's nothing illegal here in terms of they are compliant with international law. It is the same law that we rely upon as we move around the world. But the issue for us is we just think, we'd appreciate a little bit more advance notice, particularly on what is a busy air route, one of the busiest in the world, that we've actually got a bit more time to respond to that. Having said that, our civil aviation authorities are well used to this. They are, and it's normal practice in the aviation and maritime world. They have been coordinating well across the Tasman, and importantly, at no point have New Zealand or Australian assets been in any danger.
Just at your Vietnam trip.
Sorry. Sorry.
No. Just, firstly, there was supposed to be an Indonesian leg on this as well. What happened to that?
Look, Indonesia, we will reschedule for later on. The President had some rather pressing domestic issues to deal with. We have, we've been in engagement with him around that, and we want to meet and catch up and do more together with Indonesia later on in the year. But I fully understand that and fully respect that. what we're doing is moving obviously on to Vietnam. Huge opportunity for New Zealand. This is probably the fastest growing Southeast Asian economy in our region. As you know, we've got a particular focus on the 6 Southeast Asian countries, having visited Malaysia and the Philippines and Thailand and Singapore and now Vietnam, and obviously Indonesia. The President and I had a very good connection at APEC, a very successful meeting there as well. So, we want to deepen our relationships. Vietnam represents a huge opportunity. As you'd remember, we had Prime Minister Ching here initially as our first visitor from overseas when we first formed our government just over a year ago. We've subsequently met another time at Laos, and we've also met with the President in Peru.
So not a snub that you're no longer meeting?
No, not at all. I mean, honestly, genuinely, a very pressing set of domestic issues for him to deal with, and from my point of view, there'll be plenty of time for us to continue those conversations between Indonesia and New Zealand. It's again, our relationship. We had a very, very successful set of meetings meeting while we were in APEC together. Had a number of conversations. There's good relationship there. I think there's a lot more that we can do together, but no, not at all. I wouldn't be worried about that at all.
What are some of the priority areas that you're going to hope to raise in bilaterals, but also with business meetings in
Yeah, well, look, as you'd know, we have 50 years of essentially diplomatic relations with Vietnam, 50 years of relationship also with ASEAN. We want to lift our level of engagement both bilaterally with Vietnam and with ASEAN in general. Actually, Vietnam is what's called our country coordinator as part of ASEAN, and we're obviously affiliates with Australia in ASEAN. So a real focus for us is actually growing our economy. As what I've been saying is that when 1 in 4 of our jobs are tied to trade, when our exporting companies pay 7% higher wages and salaries, we're doing everything we can to get more money into the back pockets of Kiwis. That's their number one focus. That's my number one focus. And so being able to enhance our trading relationships, we've set some pretty ambitious two-way trade goals last year when we met together. There's real opportunities in our traditional areas of food and beverage in particular, but also in education is massive, as well as obviously in the area of tourism. So, this is important work, and the reason we do it is because it's going to benefit Kiwis back here at home by putting more money into their pocket by doing more trade deals like this.
Playing going to get you there?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think you're on it, aren't you? You and Giles are on it, so I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing your cheery faces. We have an outstanding Air Force, and they will be well prepared, Jason and Giles. So please do not be under any. These are the best aviators in the world, so we're in good hands. So please don't worry about it. And if you need me, I'll hold your hand if it gets a bit turbulent for you. If you're a nervous flyer, it's a service I can offer. I'll keep you calm and explain how it all works. But we're going to have a good couple of days up there, and as Giles said, an opportunity to do our political engagement, obviously with meetings in Hanoi and also in Ho Chi Minh City, and also taking a great delegation that have business interests there, and also to meet with some Vietnamese folk who actually have investments here in New Zealand as well. So, all in all, it's going to be a jam trip as it always is, but it's important we get out and about in the world and do the business for New Zealand. Okay, team, thanks so much. We'll see you later.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.